Buddy, and welcome to Touching Tornadoes. My name is Conrad, and how are you, buddy? This is a daily live mood journal that I've been doing. So, I am bipolar. I have bipolar type 1 with um, psychosis or psychotic features. So, yeah, one of the things that has been recommended to do, or one of the things that you're going to find to do if you happen to get diagnosed with bipolar, is they're going to ask you if you have thought about journaling. If you do journal, they're going to recommend that you journal. And one of the ways that they say is easy is a daily mood journal. And it's easy, but, I felt like I'm not a good writer. I don't like writing my feelings down. I can't really read my writing, and I like doing this. So I'll just do my daily mood journal online. And sometimes I wonder if that's a good idea. I'm not totally opposed or ignorant to the fact that putting so much of myself out there and my moods every day could be an issue. But the way I think of it is everyone close to me, as far as family and friends and such, have witnessed me in my most severe uh, experiences. So it's no secret to those around me that I had something go on that I had. Therefore, if this is a big surprise to anybody, like, oh my God, what's he doing that for? I don't think anybody that knows me would ever ask that. They'd be like, that's a really good idea. You should do that more. So that's what I'm doing. I got the today's show all printed out, and one of the topics that we're also going to do is recovery fatigue and resilience. And so before we get to that, we got to get to our gratitude check-in. Is that no, that's record scratching. That'll work. Gratitude check-in. Um so today I'm grateful for, I got to be honest, I got my new prescription. I don't know why that the Depakote makes me so tired, but I got my new prescription yesterday, and you know, I I went to work, kind of, um, and once I got through work, it was church time. Went to church to eat, took Depakote, ready to go. I mean, that's why I'm hoping today's topic will work, recovery fatigue, and we'll get into that. I'm grateful for. I gotta do my gratitude check-in. Sometimes it's hard to do a gratitude check-in. You can start with simple things. Some people are just grateful for coffee. I'm grateful that I had my coffee this morning. I'm grateful that I have the time to do this show. I'm grateful that it's given me three. I'm grateful that I have so many people that I can turn to. I guess I only have a few. I shouldn't say so many, but a few is more than most. Those who know how hard it is to have your brain catch on fire in a mania and then come back and act like you're normal, you know what I mean, and act like nothing ever happened. Sometimes you want that, and sometimes you want just somebody to pull you aside, and be like, so what was it like? Because it's like, as you're doing your normal stuff, your normal day to day job, whatever that might be, the hardest part is like, I really want to talk about some of the things that I went through. And I'm around people, at least in my situation, that might be open to listening to it, but it's also kind of embarrassing, a lot of the stuff, or it doesn't make sense, most of the stuff. So, um, for now, I guess I'm just grateful that when I need it, I can go to, right now, it's just my father in law's, and act like I'm working. Because sometimes it's just acting like you're working. You know, I pick a project and I act like I'm doing it. So I'm grateful for my father in law, grateful for my wife and kids, and I'm grateful that, you know, I try to keep prayer. It's really hard. I was going to say I'm grateful for, the day, and sometimes when I thank for the day, I'm thanking God, but if you're like me and you went through a manic phase that involved grandiosity or Christianity in any way, it can be, kinda hard to want to, like, soak yourself in the spiritual world because the mania is for me, was so spiritual. So, uh, thank you. For those of you who are watching, thank you. So I'm gonna get in. That's a gratitude check-in. Um, I have all these buttons that don't do anything but play sounds. So sometimes I press them for no reason. We're gonna get into the daily mood journal, dude. Daily mood journal. They want you to rank it 1 out of 10. What's my mood today? I was a 4 yesterday. I was just down. I'm still recovering, I guess. I mean, I always recovering. So, but I'm coming down out of that my manic episode that I recently had, and the thoughts of the guilt and the shame and all that stuff are still in there. And although I am grateful that I didn't get the opportunity. It didn't wasn't put in the right position that, sometimes you get that hypersexuality feeling that happens when you go manic. And so I am grateful that I've never like had to come back from that and apologize. I've had the feeling and it's like overwhelming, but I didn't step out on my wife or and it could have happened. So I'm grateful that God didn't put that opportunity, and that's where I thank God because there's so many things that are out of my control. Anyways, I shouldn't be in my gratitude. I moved on. I'm in mood journal. My mood is, um, I need a haircut. Yeah, probably. Uh, I could get one. That might help my mood too. But I'm gonna go higher today. I'll go 5. I'm a 5 out of 10. I don't feel depressed. I was able to get out of bed. I haven't showered in the past 2 days. I shouldn't admit that, but I'm kinda keeping count, so and I've had plenty of time to do it. It's one of those things that when I get on the backside of a mania, I'm zapped, you know what I mean? I get all zapped out, so anyways, I'm gonna give a 5 out of 10. Energy level, we're just gonna stick with a 5 out of 10. That's the next question is what's your energy level? Yeah, 5 out of 10. So I do have a couple of jobs I got to do today. I get to do today, and I guess if I focus on them as I get to do them rather than I got to do them is better. I'm fighting the feeling of feeling like a total failure because a lot of the mistakes I made while manic um, were financial things. And sometimes or not sometimes, what I'm finding is that because of my financial mistakes that I made during my mania, you know, uh, I don't even know how helpful the work that I'm doing is, if that makes sense. Um, what's up? So, oh, I should say hi. Hey, what's up, Nicole? What's up, Art? And what's up, um, my first guy? So, what are we doing today? We're doing a daily mood journal. I've been doing these the past few days, and I'm talking about my energy level and the fact that even though I get to have a couple of jobs today that pay well for what they are, I know it's a drop in the bucket for what happened. And that's where it's like that's where the shame comes in. So that's the shame builds and it gets into guilt. Guilt and shame I think are like best friends and they like to hold hands and walk through your stomach and kick everything they can. So anyways, somebody says I look like AJ Styles WWE. Hey guys, what we'll do is I'll if you want to have a comment on like anything, go for it. But I'll read them at the end, and if you guys want to go through your daily mood journal with me, go for it. Um, my current thoughts, that would be my current thoughts. And that's it. It's like you feel worthless. Um, because you had all these big aspirations or all these big dreams, I guess, or I did, and when you put yourself in a financial situation like I've done through my manic episode, you don't, some people don't understand it. And then the ones that are kind enough to understand it, like my wife and, the ones that matter, that knew it wasn't me and that I was psychotic and that I'd lost my mind when these decisions were made. Um, their forgiveness is great. Their grace is amazing, but you're still, and this is where a lot of people get to, I think. You realize you're okay. You realize you're back. You realize that the people that love you were there through the episode and are here to stay with you moving forward as long as you're willing to, try to make yourself better. But you feel like you let them down and you feel like you don't deserve it and you feel worthless. So, um, what's been helping? Well, doing the show, it helps because, when I go to therapy, when I see my therapist, they tell me, have you done your mood journal? Are you keeping a mood journal? So it's like, I'm going to start doing that. And the challenges today are just keeping that's the last question on our mood journal today. What are today's challenges? I guess lately it's been staying motivated or finding a way to get motivated. Um, One of the hard parts for me is when I was undiagnosed, when I didn't know what was going on with me, I turned to whatever I could to fight basically the mania. I didn't realize that that's what I had going on, but I was drinking every day, like half, what is that, 1.75, those gigantic cartoon bottles of vodka. I had a gigantic cartoon bottle of vodka. I'd drink about half of that every day to go, like after everything, when I'm alone, to go to sleep, pass out. So it wasn't really sleep, get up, exercise hungover, run 7 miles, go work all day from, uh, at that time, 10 to 8, come back home, wait for everyone to go to bed, drink. You know what I mean? So it was like I was suppressing so much um, back then. And the challenge I would use, oh, that's where I was answering. I would use music, like everyone does. Music motivates. I used to have a football coach that yelled at you that music motivates. But the problem if you get manic like me, you feel like music is, made for you, talking to you. And then with the apps that you have, like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, whichever ones you have, they're they keep putting music in front of you that's based on what you like to listen to. So if you are in psychosis and feel like the music is being made specifically for you, in a way, the what's being presented to you by Apple Music is just for you. You know what I mean? Or by Spotify. Here's some suggested songs that we think you may like. And it's like, oh my God, did you write this song just for me? So it's like, um, it did, you know what I mean? But I would get into it way too much. And so it's hard to, now I want to exercise for the right reason, not just to fight the side effects of the medication that I'm on, but also to clear my mind. But lately, it's so packed in there that I get to outside or get to the track or get to whatever, and I'm just so bottled up that it's I'll just walk. You know what I mean? I've given myself the blessing of like just walk then. If you can't run, walk. So that's where we're at today. We're going to talk about recovery fatigue, and we're going to talk about. So, recovery fatigue is the quiet exhaustion that follows the storm. After the chaos of mania or crisis, the slow rebuild takes patience, routine, and rest, things that don't come with adrenaline or instant reward. It's normal to feel worn down when progress feels invisible. Recovery isn't a failure when it's slow, it's endurance. I had to print that out for myself because I am I'm pretty hard on myself, and I think that I think everyone is. You know what I mean? That's another thing. I'll go ahead and read the what I called our toolbox, our little mental toolbox on recovery, fatigue, and recharging. So some of the options, or maybe just reminders that you need to remind yourself: practice radical rest. Downtime is healing, not laziness. I'm hard on myself on that. Laugh when you can. Humor resets the nervous system. So with the first two, it's like that's what a lot of my friends and a lot of the relationships that I had with the guys that I would laugh with, the guys that, you could talk about any news story that you wanted and flip it on its head and make fun of it because they knew you were joking and they're joking and blah, blah, blah. Those dudes, I don't know. I kind of pushed my last mania pushed a lot of people away. And so I've lost the connection for now of some of my friends, longtime friends. They just think I've went crazy and they don't have the energy to associate with me, I guess. So laugh when you can, though. I still laugh. I try to. And then the radical rest, dude, I grew up taking a nap was weakness, so it's really hard. I have to reassure myself or remind myself that, dude, you melted your brain and you need to let it recover. What's up? I got a friend here messaging me. We don't need anyone but ourselves. Well, that's right, brother. I mean, I need people. I need you. Thanks for watching, man. Um, and I got another person. Nicole says, "Do you know I used to do stuff just like that, but then I quit because everyone started spamming that this was boring. This is boring, so I just stopped." I don't know if she's saying that this is boring, but it is. I'm sorry if it is. It's a podcast about being bipolar, and ways that we can get better and heal. But don't listen to people when they say you're boring. That's what boring people say. People that don't do complain. People that, you know what I mean? Like, I think about it every day. I've been doing videos for years and not necessarily on bipolar, but I've been doing podcasts for a year and I don't get much interaction or much traction or knowing that people are listening. So I assume that they're bored by what I put out there and it sucks, but it's not true. Just go for it. If it helps you, then that's what you should be doing. Um, Number 3 on our toolbox tips: hydrate, move, breathe. These are basic maintenance matters. Duh. Now, you can I'm bad about drinking water. I'm bad about doing like breath work exercises, even though I know there's ways that you can kind of like reprogram your nervous system by how you breathe. And maybe we'll do breath work on a different podcast. But choose connection over perfection. Healing thrives in support. There you go. So that's number 4 on our toolbox tip to recharge. Yeah, choosing connection over perfection. Healing thrives in support. I guess that's like if you just find somebody that understands what you went through. If you went through a depressive period that was extreme, if you went, it doesn't have to be extreme, but those are harder to explain to others. Everybody gets the blues, I think, and everybody, you know, can get affected by the damn weather or the whatever, but not everybody understands what it's like to feel like what I was telling you, like, I haven't showered in a couple days. I've had plenty of time to shower. I've stood in the bathroom, got undressed, and then thought, nah, screw it. Um, I'm gonna put on, clean clothes. I'm not that dirty. You know what I mean? Um, and maybe I'm today. That's what are my promise. I'm gonna shower. I got a random question. Do you struggle with anger issues? When manic, I did. I had a real problem with authority, like anybody that was telling me what to do. And so I would get angry and never physically, just but I could get so uh, worked up that it was frightening for everybody that was around. Just the way that I speak, the way that you know, I wasn't really able to convey my emotions without some sort of argumentative tone. You know what I mean? And so, how did I cope? I calmed myself down. I didn't when I was manic. I mean, it took medication, which maybe isn't helpful, but what I to keep me where I'm at now, which this is my baseline and what I like to think is I'm a pretty chill dude, like I'd rather if people are yelling, I stay out of it. It's like I'm the last one to call when the fight's on because then I'll just yell and everybody will be quiet. And it sucks being that guy, but exercise, dog. That's what I know. It's like stupid. I made a commitment um, to myself years ago when before I was diagnosed, but because I knew that I was getting so worked up over things and letting things overtake me is when I started my running thing. And I just did 10 minutes a day is how I started. And I'd go run. I just promised myself run for 10 minutes. And I don't even know if I could do it all in a row, but at that time, like all 10 minutes, I might have to break it up. But giving myself that outlet, and it basically just got me outside and got me walking, and that calmed me down. So there's that. And talking to people, I did a podcast for 15 years with my friends, and it was weekly. And I think that just by having that outlet to say silly things and do silly things allowed me to reset, and that might have helped me also with my anger. But if you're struggling with it, dude, message me. Just you probably just want to talk, dude, or you're mad about something, and typically those things can, like you said, all you need is yourself. You can, but maybe not. Maybe you just need somebody to listen, hear you out, and then you're fine. That's kind of how I am. The last thing on our toolbox tip is remember steady is stronger than sprinting. Okay, well, that's kind of cliche, but I wake up with a smile and I don't have any reason to ever be mad. All right, good, man. I'm glad you wake up with a smile and don't have any other reason to be mad. Well, maybe I'll message you then. Um, Story summary. Oh, I pulled a story. I've found that one of the things that did help me with my manic in episodes, because even though it's bad, it's hard to say. I had a severe depression that I went through, and it's what I'm trying my best not to go through again, and that's why I'm doing this show, um, because I have to stay on top of this. I don't want to relapse, I guess is the best word. But what I found to educate myself on the mania side is just listening to people's stories about their manic experience, and it makes me feel less alone. So I think that I wanted to I can't just say mine all the time. I've already excuse me. I already got videos out there where I've described what happened in some of my manic experiences, and I'll have to go through them again, and I want to because if you've ever been manic, you have these flashbacks. It's like your memory gets all distorted, and sometimes you can't remember anything, and sometimes you remember snippets, but they're out of sync, and maybe that's just me. I never said that I wasn't crazy. I mean, I went crazy. So that time period when I lost my mind, all of those things get out of whack. And so when I come back and I'm myself again and I feel like I'm on the road to recovery or whatever, what helps is you get to where you're like, wait a minute, am I normal? You know what I mean? Like you're looking around, am I and you're not. I mean, you got this disorder that's hidden even from yourself. Because when you get and that's what happens to people. They get baseline, they go years without an episode, or they go months without an episode, whatever it is, and they think, "Do I even have this thing anymore? Was it all in my control? You know, did I?" And it's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? So I felt I didn't even feel like I had bipolar whipped or something or in control. I felt like I had it. I felt like I was maintaining it, and then I still wasn't on probably the appropriate medication I needed to keep me. I wasn't on an antipsychotic as like a safety net, and then I had this big stress trigger that triggered my latest manic episode. I was got into a falling out with my dad. Family is a big stressor for me, and I lost it. So, and that and it built though. It was never like you never for me, I didn't wake up and be like, I'm manic. You just are a maniac. And so I'm doing my best to not get through there. And like I said, one of the ways that I can make it is by looking for other people who have been through it too. And so I found this dude. His name's Brandon. That may not be his real name. It's an anonymous thing. And I tried to I used ChatGPT to like paraphrase it, so I'm not like reading it verbatim. But I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Brandon's story begins at age 23. During college finals, a normal day and a green beer turned into a rush of anxiety, sleeplessness, and confusion. His first experience of mania and psychosis. Hospitalized for what doctors thought was a one time reaction, he recovered, returned to school, and graduated with honors. This happens to a lot of us out there. Um, my friend here says, when I took medication for depression, it made it worse ever. Since then, I stopped taking anything. That's understandable, dude. Some of the first one that they put me on for my depression, um, it's what I think gave me it contributed for sure in what they call suicidal ideations. You know what I mean? Like thoughts of suicide, I guess. And I was having horrific experience the with the antidepressant, the first one they put me on. They put me on another one, and I'm pretty sure it's what had to do with me clicking into mania, because you have to be careful if you're bipolar one, no matter what. But yeah, some of those pills, dude, are for sure worse than. And it doesn't. What's so shitty is it doesn't matter. Like, there's not one that works for all of us. It's like every person you talk to that has this disorder will have a different regimen of medications that they have to take. And it's like, well, why don't you take this one? Oh, because when I took Seroquel, I wanted to frickin' drive my car into a stop sign. I should telephone pole. So that just all right. Let's get back to the story. So he graduated with honors. But Brandon said the pattern repeated. Each time he came off the medication, another manic episode followed. His episodes grew more severe: sleepless nights, delusions, hallucinations, and even a serious car accident. It wasn't until his third hospitalization at age 27 that doctors correctly diagnosed him with bipolar 1 with psychotic features. Since then, Brandon has remained stable on medication for over 4 years. He's shifted from isolation to purpose, volunteering, pursuing peer support training, and rebuilding confidence in his ability to contribute again. So, his story is a powerful reminder that stability doesn't erase struggle, but it builds strength. He shows that life after mania is not about returning to who you were, but learning how to live wisely with who you are now. I do struggle with that, like when you go manic, when you lose your mind, you that is different. Going manic is also different than you can be manic or maybe it's hypomanic without psychosis. You know what I mean? Without delusions, without hearing or seeing or feeling like the world, like you're on the Truman Show and stuff. But for me, that's not the case. I had like people's faces morphing, people's different things happened the 3 separate times that I was manic, but all 3 were delusional in their nature. And I may have the wrong diagnosis. You know what I'm saying? That's what's so hard with an invisible disorder, that you're using like your descriptions of things as the patient who doesn't have a frickin' brain at the time in order for them to just help you. You know what I mean? I'm going in there, I'm a maniac out of my mind, and they're like, well, describe how you're feeling so we can medicate you. It's like, should you really be taking my, and all they're going to, at that time, they're like, well, this guy's freaking, and they give you the hard stuff. Yeah, this guy, losing your memory, brother. I got you. That's where I'm worried. Not just about like, I'm kind of okay with losing my memory on a lot of the stuff, but it has like flashbacks. And so if you were somebody like me who took off your shoes and socks and ran like 5 miles on through some sort of broken down part of a city to like basically in my mind I was like some sort of warrior of justice, like put here by the government or God, like this entity put me here to do that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking in this time. It's like I could be okay with losing that memory. The memory of bloody feet is not fun. So, but the problem is they come back as flashbacks, as just this trauma and it's so real. Like, I don't know. I'm not a soldier. I've never served, and I've never, whatever, been in battle. You know what I mean? But it's sometimes, so I can't speak to what that kind of post-traumatic what that kind of thing makes people feel. All I can see is look at the numbers and look at the people I know who have served and how screwed up it can make you sometimes. So I guess I can relate in the sense that the things that I put myself through while manic are so traumatic, some of them, that it's like you've been through a war. It's the only way you can describe it, because the reason it gets described that way is because you're trying to find a relatable way to express yourself to somebody who's never felt it before. It's like, well, just take any memory. Remember when you had a kid? It's like that, but it's not real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have memories that I didn't even do the thing, but my brain tells me I did. So, and they come back as flashbacks or it was just a bad dream, and then they're not cool. So that's Brandon's story. And I'm going to get out of here as always. What I've been doing is getting out of here with affirmations. Like I told you before, from the kind of childhood I had and the upbringing I had, me getting caught reading affirmations or, telling my dad that downtime is healing and it's not laziness, I wouldn't have, probably would have got, for sure got mocked, if not like punished in some way for being I would be a pussy. You know what I'm saying? So, when I getting ready to do these affirmations, I always think like, man, my dad, if he ever watched this, that's the way that I grew up. So once I went manic, I not only had to, and everybody, this is hard. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to say my shit's harder than anybody else's. It's not. It's mine. So it is what it is. It's as hard as it is for me, and that's all that really matters. But it's hard to not have any real positive education on mental health at all, even though my older brother has battled different kinds of mental health, but he was always just my partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never looked at my older brother as him having differences that I was embarrassed about. I looked at him because he's only 2 years older than me. I had to go be his protector through all of school from others. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I only looked at mental health was, yeah, people are going to make fun of you because that's what happened. And now that and we weren't educated as, like, I didn't have a family that was supportive totally to the needs that my older brother probably needed. My mom was great in trying to get him through school and get him, but as far as like therapies and, any of that, he's not just bipolar. He has other things that are going on, and he's good and as productive as he can be, and he works and he's a good man. So I'm really proud of my brother, and but now looking back, it's like, man, I wish I would have had some kind of education on anything growing up that has to do, and I had the perfect example of somebody with me, but instead I just had a lived experience of how to protect someone who's different. And not just from, I had to protect him from, my dad comes from the frickin', what is that movie that people like? My dad, like Top Gun. My dad's Top Gun era, dude. My dad comes from like the original, not Top Gun 2, but he comes from the original Top Gun, where Tom Cruise is riding that motorcycle on a runway and there's not people just shooting him. So he's the tough guy, what is that? Air Force, guy. That was my dad. And so mental health is how tough you are to push your feelings down. That's kind of how we were raised. How tough are you going to be if you get those feelings? Push them down. And so that's what I did my whole life. And I fought for my brother and I pushed my own feelings down, and that's where we're at. But then I got diagnosed, and it's like, wait a minute, what's bipolar? What is mental health? I can take a nap, or, my brain, I deserve this, or it's okay to not be okay. All those things were like new words for me. So I'm trying to educate myself simultaneously so I can help myself, but also maybe help others. So I am going to read these affirmations. And if you want to think that I'm whatever word, derogatory term, then throw it in there. I don't care what you think. Because, number one, I honor my need for rest without guilt. All right. Healing happens even when I'm still. Number three, my progress is steady but not perfect. Number four, I am learning to live gently with myself. And number five, my story is still unfolding and I'm not done yet. Dang, dog. about those affirmations? Boom. Put these on real quick and hit an affirmation button. Nope. Turn that up. Nope. Turn that up. Affirmations. There you go. All right. That's it for the show today, everybody. I'll read. We also have to remember, this is from a friend. We also have to remember we are human and we forget things. Had to tell myself a lot during those times. Yeah, we are human and we forget things, which is, all right, I'll read the next one. When I had my first mental breakdown, my family thought I was dying. They had never seen one until me. Yeah, dude. Well, my brothers never really had a total mental breakdown. So when I had mine, it shocked everyone. And I was the last person probably I was the last person I didn't think I'd ever have a mental break. You know, you never think you'd have one until you have one. So it shocked definitely my family. I'm sorry you had one, dude. So thanks for being here, though. Thank you all for watching if you watched. And I'll be back tomorrow. I got to do these every day. So might as well do them with you. With that being said, have an okay day. Don't let your meatloaf like I did. And be good to yourself. We'll be out of here shortly. Thank you.